Sugar, this one is it.
Okay.
Hey everybody, Doug here from 2+ Stuff, and I wanted to show something that, I don't know, kind of popped up yesterday, and I want to put a video together kind of consolidating my thoughts. If we head over to the GW site, you'll see they made a few changes to the way they organize armies. So here we are on the GW site. As you can see, that's a cool little case. We'll head over to the Age of Sigmar page, which is relevant to us, and if you look under the Grand Alliances, you will see some factions missing. And that is not that models or units are missing, it's because they have consolidated things back into large portions of armies. So let's take, for example, one that you saw in the intro, Free People. So if we go to Free People, boom, look at that. We have the Ironweld Arsenal, or it used to be the Ironweld Arsenal, inside the Free People entry. In fact, if we go through, let me just click View All, so it'll just do this easier. If we look at View All, it's actually most of the Empire stuff from the old world. Again, flagellants back in there, rocket batteries, things like that, all reconsolidated with a few extras because the Duard cogs, things like that. But generally speaking, it is Ironweld Arsenal plus Empire and some of the battle wizards and things like that. That is super exciting. Looking at order that did it to Free Peoples, there's also a new, wait for it. As you can see, we have Idnith Deepkin, we have Daughters of Cain, but there is now a new option for just elves. Elves. So, all of the, until this point, like any elf that doesn't have a battle tome, basically, consolidated here. So here we have a wall of dragons and other huge creatures. My goodness, okay, and we're scrolling through, and again, it is all dark elves, wood elves, and high elves from the old world, consolidated into one faction entry in terms of searching for models online. We'll get to this in a second about why I think that is, but I just want to point out some other ones here. That's pretty much the big ones for when it comes to order. Dispossessed is still a smaller entry. It seems as though a lot of the tech and the weapons went into the Free Guild for that reason. But if we look at the other ones, we'll go to Chaos. We also have Creatures of Chaos, something different. Ever Chosen and Slaves to Darkness was combined, which is something that I wish that I knew was coming, because that makes me very excited. So there are those things all combined, of course. But there is one here that is far more interesting, which is, of course, Skaven. All of these Skaven clans, including Pestilence, which I think is very interesting, we'll touch on that, are entered together. And may I just say, I forgot that the Vermin Lord Deceiver existed, because who clicks on Eshin when there's only 2 entries? All our stunning Vermin Lord models are there, of course, all these Skaven entries. Let's go check out some of the other Grand Alliances. We have Death was kind of cleaned up. Anything that wasn't Nighthaunt, Flesh Eater Courts was just kind of chewed into Legions of Nagash, which makes sense. It's all in there. And then for Destruction, Grots, Gutbusters, yeah, just those two were really massively consolidated. So for Grots, it is going to be the Spiderfang Grots, the Forest whatever ones, and the Moon Clan were all super merged into one. Oh, and the Trolls. Cool, the Troggoth stuff. That's cool. I didn't even catch that before. And what is Gutbusters? Got a whole bunch of stuff. Let's do that. Okay, it looks like all of the old world ogre things. I don't see anything standing out that looks super different from what they had before. So fantastic stuff. So let's investigate kind of what this might mean. So I want to make abundantly clear that I have no insider information. Anything that comes out of this video is wild speculation, but it's also good fodder for discussion, because I think, if nothing else, the Beast of Chaos book was a definite communication from us as consumers to GW. This is something that we want. We love when these bajillion fractured factions came together with some way to be used. And I think that's definitely a response to it. I want to say here that nothing actually has changed in those War Scrolls. No keywords as far as I can tell. I did a little investigation, mostly with the Free Guild stuff. Nothing has changed. Ironweld Arsenal is still the defining keyword of those vehicles and the tanks and all stuff like that. So like, rules-wise, nothing has changed. However, I think, first of all, on a practical level, this makes it very easy to shop for things. You can basically sort by what would, of course, be allies. All the elves are allies with each other. the Free Guild and the Ironwall Arsenal go hand in hand. All the Skaven can, but not really yet, and we'll talk about that. So while the actual rules and stuff don't reflect this yet, meaning there's no way to build elf is not a keyword you can really build around at this moment and have it be meaningful in any sort of way. The fact that they're all organized together could mean in the future that they're going to be. What I'd like to see, to be perfectly honest with you, is with maybe either a PDF release or with the Next General's Handbook, using those factions that they just made as keywords. Like, you can go Pestilence, you can go Mulder, you can go Scryer for Skaven, but hey, you know what? Skaven is a keyword. Skaven is an army. Clan Rats are always battling in a Skaven army. That's all they need to do quite well with a lot of things. For example, Elves are a little more tricky because those units are just so diverse and so heavy on specific synergies across them. But I think there's game there for absolutely. There's a lot of design space for sure with the Frostheart Phoenixes and Dragons. Also, there's a lot of cool things happening. I just mean in terms of writing a general elf rule might be a little bit more difficult. But I'm kind of jumping all around here. So what could this actually possibly mean? First one, I think it's definitely cleaning up their website and their product catalog, I should say. So finding things that you're looking for is much simpler now. If you know that your model is an ogre, say you're trying to find a fire belly and you can't frickin' find the fire belly, now it just look for that section, the Gutbusters, and it's right there. Everything is much easier to search for. I appreciate that as a consumer, absolutely. More than that, as I touched on before, I would love for this to be GW's kind of step-by-step towards bringing these factions back together and putting them into meaningful battle tomes. Fewer factions that have a lot of depth model-wise and then also just rules-wise. Last night, I played a game against Mark from Rerolling Ones. We recorded it. I won't spoil it, but he played Skaven, and we discussed after the game the real limitations of not having Skaven be a keyword that you can build battle line troops around, and how that is the thing that they need. And I would love for that to be a reality. Most of these things don't have to be amazing. It could just be a PDF that says, hey, here's some updates to battle line if, and just pick a faction's allegiance ability or whatever. And it doesn't matter. It's pretty loosey-goosey, but in terms of army building, this has been the biggest hindrance for several of these factions. So again, to be perfectly clear, nothing has actually changed. I want to make that, I'm not a rumor monger of that. What I'm talking about is what I'd like to see. And what I'd like to see is this kind of design space explored. And that means allegiance abilities for Gutbusters, for Elves, which that one's, like I said, a little tricky because there's so many things in there. And they're so diverse, but Skaven for sure, Free Peoples, those kinds of stuff where it's like, give them something. You know what I mean? Like those armies, those people who have played those armies are utterly devoted to them. I've never seen a Skaven player with a full Skaven army that didn't deeply love Skaven. So giving them a way to do gameplay that makes sense, I think is definitely the right move. Again, I'd love to see a set of allegiance abilities specifically for those factions, but if not, even just an update, a small errata or whatever, to say, hey, here's some new battle line if options to kind of make it so I can at least make an army that makes sense using the models in these kind of bigger conglomerates, I think is the right move. One thing I will add is that a lot of people have been asking me through Facebook and Instagram regarding the upcoming MoonClan Grot release. We saw a teaser trailer with the bad moon and what that could possibly mean. And people have been asking me, what if they did the Beast of Chaos thing where they add Troggoths and other monsters into MoonClan Grots? The reason I ask this is because it seems as though the Night Vault Troggoth set is going to merge well with the MoonClan set. It's like, oh, what if these factions were combined? And I'm looking, and of course, if we go to that one, you see here looking at the Grots that they have the beasts, just the Troggoths specifically, fit right in. And so adding that Night Vault kit of those big beast Troggoths, whatever, fits right in with the other things that you would find living in the mountain, like squigs, which are cave dwellers in mountains, and then the other trolls and stuff like that. They just blend right in. So this is one thing that kind of lends credence to that to me, that possibly the MoonClan book will not be MoonClan specific, but it will be they are the dominant race of Grots in general, which would be so dope. I would absolutely love that. I think it would definitely give a lot of life to this model line, because then you would not just be dealing with massive horde armies, but you would have these big centerpiece models like the Arachnarok and some heavy hitters, Fellwater Troggoths. I've seen them used a couple times, and they're brutal in combat if they can get there, as well as, of course, all the basic trolls, and if they come out with the Night Vault trolls that are compatible with this army, that would be amazing. When you stack things like fanatics, so you have your big blocks of hordes to tie things up and fanatics to do all kinds of nastiness, and then some big heavy hitters behind them, I think it adds up to being a really solid faction with more diversity than you might think. The reason I'm pointing all this out is just because that would be the coolest thing ever. I mean, I would legitimately think that that would be one of the coolest things ever if what we're seeing here was kind of not proof, but it kind of leaned more in that direction of these things merging together. One thing that instantly strikes me is the idea is if these are kind of visions of things to come, Slaves to Darkness and Everchosen being one faction or a united faction would be super cool. I wonder how that fits into Dark Oath. You know, if Dark Oath will be its own thing, or if it'll if it'll be a part of Slaves to Darkness, which is my assumption so far, or if that'll be its own thing and then Slaves to Darkness and Everchosen will be over here. I don't really know. I don't have any opinions, strong ways about it. I'm more focusing on Chaos Undivided with Beasts of Chaos right now, doing the battalions to get the different keyword traits. But I do think it's very interesting. And the way that they split that up, because Slaves to Darkness has traditionally worked for everybody, but now when you add Everchosen, if they were ever to re-release the book Everchosen, which please redo Everchosen to include Slaves to Darkness and give them some cool allegiance abilities and stuff like that. If they did that, that is a super good army. Like Slaves to Darkness and Everchosen combined. If Everchosen was even just a keyword for Slaves to Darkness, just like the Nurgle, Khorne, Slanesh, Tzeentch, they can choose. Make that a keyword, and all of a sudden you have an incredibly functional army. It doesn't have everything, but it has enough tools to get stuff done if you were to add stuff like a spell lore and that kind of junk. Side note, they should probably just make an Everchosen book to make Archaon really good, because right now Slayer of Kings having a -1 rend is kind of the biggest joke in Age of Sigmar. So that's it, friends. I don't have any grand sweeping things. I just wanted to bring this to your attention, one, because if you are looking for things for the holidays, for gifts and wish lists and things like that, just the structure of how they have laid out things is much simpler now. It's not nearly as cumbersome to showing people or finding the gifts you want. That's awesome on a practical level. But then as far as thinking about how things could fit later on, it does match the rumors of Troggoths being merged with Grots, which would be super, super cool. But then as we look at the other ones, like All the Skaven being united, that makes perfect sense. Slaves to Darkness and Everchosen, I'm like, ooh, that is... it makes me ask interesting questions about how those things would work. And how Dark Oath would work coming out in the future. And then we look at stuff like Gutbusters, which just makes sense. Just bring the Gutbusters back together. I think about this, right? Like, I'm looking at this now, and it just reinforces the same thing that I felt when AOS dropped and we saw all the bajillion sub-factions, which is like, how come Seraphon is one thing, but everything else is shattered to oblivion? So, and I'm glad Seraphon was. That was awesome. That was a good, solid move. And so as we're seeing these shards of factions get reconstituted right now as a product line, but hopefully as an allegiance, or at least a keyword that you can build an army, a meaningful army around with battle line if and that kind of stuff. As I see that kind of come back together, I'm like, you know what? Going to the Gutbuster section of this page looks like I'm looking at an army. It looks like I'm looking at an army, and other than before, it just wasn't. The same thing for Slaves to Darkness and Everchosen and Skaven and all those ones. Like, they just... Now, when you click on a unit entry on their site, it looks like you're looking at a faction that is playable and has options and a full range of stuff to entice you and get you excited. And I'm really happy for that, if nothing else. When a new player is like looking on the site trying to figure out what army they like, maybe they had a demo with Stormcast and Khorne or whatever. Now they're on the site trying to look at what army they want to start investing in to start playing in this new gaming group. When you click on this page, this looks like something that's exciting rather than being like, oh wow, Firebellies sound cool. And this is one dude who needs an antacid or whatever. That's all there is to it, but that now it's like, oh, ogres are cool. Yeah, they are. Go play ogres. So tell me your thoughts. This is the part where I ask a lot of questions because I want to look at your comments down below. There are people who have vastly different ideas about what this could mean, and so I want to hear yours. First off, do you, like me, appreciate the fact that navigating their site is so much simpler now? I love it. My goodness. Secondly, if you are somebody who has one of those factions that was shattered into a billion pieces and now it's put back together, like you're a Gutbusters player, Skaven, whatever. Tell me which one you are playing and what you would like to see with that. If they do go the route of turning these into full factions, tell me what you like to see from that. Again, I don't think there's going to be, I don't foresee the Elf Battle Tome, which has all High Elves, Wanderers, and, well, there's multiple different kinds of fractured bits of dark elves and such. You know, that seems like a big order, but for Skaven, Gutbusters, Grots, those all seem so much more manageable. And so, tell me your thoughts. I don't know how to rationalize that. It seems so likely when I look at MoonClan and how it fits into Grots. Like, oh yeah, that's clearly them setting up to make this a faction. But then I look at the Elf one and I'm like, that's a lot to chew on. And so I'm not quite sure what to make of that. So tell me your thoughts about that. Do you see this as a roadmap to future releases? Do you just see it as a product organization and nothing more? Don't look into it. I want to hear your thoughts. Leave in the comments below and I'll talk to you there. Hey Wargamers, thank you so much for watching that video. Be sure to hit subscribe and click the little bell notification icon so you're alerted to all new videos coming out.